Hi, I'm Kathy Schaefer with Parents Corner. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about STEM in the classroom.
I'm Kathy Schaefer, and this is Parents Corner on AACPS TV. Each month we talk about a topic of interest to parents like us. This month we're focusing on STEM. Reading, writing, and arithmetic, do they sound familiar? For most students today, it's also STEM: science, technology, engineering, and math. What is STEM? Well, basically, it's teaching the 4 disciplines in combination rather than as standalone subjects. The curriculum is available to all students and not just the gifted, with the goal of preparing for jobs in these competitive markets where the U.S. is perceived to be lagging behind. Important? Well, according to the U.S. Department of Education, the projected job rate says yes. We spoke with kindergarten teacher Mrs. Norris to see STEM at work with even the youngest of our students.
I think it really gives the kids an opportunity to think outside the box, really encourages creative thinking. It also builds teamwork and cooperative learning, being able to work together with a partner.
And how is STEM different than the traditional science or math that we grew up learning in the classroom?
I think it takes all those skills and puts them together, which is the way you use them in the real world. So it lets them see that it's not just math, it's not just science. You have to put all those pieces together to accomplish a task.
And how has the feedback from your students been?
They love it. I think you can see they're all actively engaged. They are really excited when we do the projects, and they get excited about the success of their classmates.
And how do you make your STEM curriculum age appropriate?
I think you have to look at what standard you're trying to teach and then make it match. If you're doing a kindergarten standard, then your project will be age appropriate for them.
Do you have any STEM goals moving forward?
I'd like to move it more towards STEAM and start to get some arts integrated into it.
And if you had one thing to say to parents about STEM, just in general, what would that one thing be?
Don't jump in and solve the problem for them. Let them struggle with the problem, grapple with the problem a little bit, because that's going to build their growth mindset and their grit and help them be able to solve problems in the future.
What is your favorite part of STEM? What's your favorite thing that you do in the classroom with STEM?
Building.
You like to build. What kind of things do you build with STEM?
So when we were doing Thanksgiving, when it was close to Thanksgiving, we made a big dinner table. And then when it was getting close to Christmas, we were doing elves on the shelves.
Elves on the shelves. Did you know anything about STEM before you started kindergarten?
No.
No. And do you think that STEM's something that you want to keep doing every year?
Yes.
Yes. Why do you like STEM so much? What's your...
Maybe because I like to build a lot.
How can parents support STEM learning? We evaluated evidence and tested hypothesis at the recent AACPS Regional Science and Engineering Fair at North County High School.
I mainly like the engineering part because you learn different processes to figure out a solution.
Do you think that your parents know a lot about STEM?
They know about the main information, but I don't think they've ever really experienced it before.
My experiment is, are you smarter than a computer? It's about which is more accurate, statistical analysis, so a computer program, or your human instinct, so human intuition.
Great. And what did you find out?
I found that the computer was much more accurate because humans all have a bias towards teams they like or things they like, but a computer doesn't have that bias.
The bias. Great. And what's your favorite part of STEM in school?
Probably math. It's really fun, and I also like science because experiments are cool. So.
And do you like the way that they're teaching STEM all together now instead of individual subjects?
Yeah, I like how my teachers integrate like some of the problems that you get in math. It applies to science as well as math. So yeah, that's really good.
Is STEM something that you'd like to use in your future career path? And what do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to be a neurosurgeon, and this project kind of relates to my job field that I'm looking at. So
I think most likely most people would use it because now modern jobs require advanced technology and a lot of smarts.
Do you think your parents know a lot about STEM?
yeah,
They do.
definitely.
So why did you want to be a judge today for the STEM fair?
I think it's very interesting to see how these kids are interested in science and how they come a long way. I mean, back when I was in high school, it was a totally different realm. I mean, we would build a volcano and put some baking soda and vinegar in it. So, I mean, science has come a long way, and to see these kids so interested in the different topics that they pick, and when you talk to them and how interested they are, and how they pick their topics, it's very interesting.
And what do you find exciting about the way that they're learning it based on the way that we learned it in school as individual disciplines versus now the combination of all four together?
Oh, it's so advanced. I mean, like I said, coming from where we come from with textbooks, with now all the electronics that they have right now, and the resources that they have are so much more vast than what we had. And that's, I mean, speaking 20 years, 30 years ago, so it's totally different. And what they have at their fingertips, and just to see the different stuff they use, the different, like some people actually went and got to use some actual strep bacteria, and we're like, how did you get your hands on that? It's pretty interesting how imaginative and creative they are, and the ideas they come up with, and all the different tools that they've been using for their projects.
And pretty amazing at how young it starts. I mean,
Oh,
some of these
absolutely.
kids
These
are
kids
still pretty young.
They look young, and we were just actually having this discussion on how old are these kids. I mean, they look so young, and just their how creative and how imaginative they are. It's pretty impressive.
And can you tell us just a little bit about your experiment?
So basically what I did is I programmed a robot that can track objects and retrieve them all by itself. It uses a pixie camera, which has an x-axis, and that's what I use to get the left and right. And then I use an area equation using width times height to track an object going forward and backwards using a comparison. So basically if it were exceeds the maximum, it would go backwards. If it's less than the minimum, then go forwards. And then I use an ultrasonic sensor, which basically sends a ping and then counts the seconds for it to bounce back, and it gives me an exact difference from the object. So I want it at 5 centimeters, and then it runs the arm function.
You should go work for Lego, because this is basically designing a Mindstorm, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
What do you want to do when you grow up? Do you think you're going to use STEM in your future career?
Yes, I want to major in computer science and see where that goes.
I tested chromatography on M&Ms, and I was testing to see which M&M had the highest retention factor. And so I had to go through a very extensive process of extracting the dye and spotting it onto the chromatography strips, and then waiting for the solvent to reach a certain height on the chromatography strip, and then recording the retention factor.
So basically STEM can be used in everyday stuff, even candy.
Yeah.
Do you like learning about STEM in school? What's your favorite part?
My favorite part is probably math, because it's so logistic, and it can be used in everyday situations such as going to the grocery store or shopping.
Do you think that STEM is something you're going to use in a future job when you grow up?
Yeah, STEM is everywhere. My mom, she's a biologist, and she uses STEM a whole lot.
If there's anything you would like to tell people that don't know about STEM, what would that be?
It's really good. You could use it in everyday situations, even the engineering part. There's no limit to it, really.
This is my second year teaching STEM, and they are just so excited. It's amazing how much they've learned from last year to this year, and they still remember. It's great because we've been bringing in real-world connections for towers and structures and skyscrapers, and learning about windmills and wind power and turbines. It just gets them very excited about science.
And what's different about teaching STEM than the way that we learned STEM as individual silos of curriculum, and now the disciplines, or the 4 disciplines, are put together, correct?
Yes, it's a little different because you're looking at more project-based learning. So the kids are presented with a challenge, and they have to figure out the best way to solve it. So they have to imagine some ideas, and they have to work within constraints and limits that are given to them. Just like if you were an engineer in a real job, your boss might say to you, hey, you can design a brand new iPhone for our company, but these are your limits you have to remain within. So our students are working through that process, the whole engineering design processing, applying the math and the science and the technology all together to that engineering project. So it's neat to see them plan something out, test it, and then if it doesn't work, go back and improve it, because that's how the real world works.
It's not just textbook anymore learning, it's all hands-on.
It's not textbook, it is all hands-on, and it's pretty cool because you're using materials that are readily available, not necessarily fancy kits and things like that, but they're experiencing ways to use other materials, and so that brings in that green element as well, being able to reuse certain materials for new things.
Great. And do you think today's parents know a lot about STEM, and what would you tell them about STEM? What would be some advice for integrating STEM at home or helping their kids learn STEM?
I think it is a little different for parents to see what STEM is, but I think they need to realize that we live in a world where everything is integrated. Our day is not separated into, math time, and this is when we pay our bills, and, reading time, this is the only time we can read a book. Everything is integrated, and I think they need to see that there are so many jobs out there now that everything is integrated within the STEM fields. There's nothing in isolation anymore. So even if your child wants to be a baseball player, the STEM piece of it, the engineering, the mathematics, everything in the science of physics that goes into being a baseball player, it's all interconnected. And I think what parents also need to see is that one of the benefits of STEM that I find is it gives students opportunities to work as a team, which is a huge deal because there's not a single job out there in the future that our students are going to need to do that doesn't involve teamwork. Plus, it gives them ways to figure out, hey, what happens when things fail? Because the whole point of the engineering design process is to deal with that. What happens when your design fails? What's the chance that everything you do in life is going to work the first time? And they need those strategies to understand, like, hey, I can pick myself up. Failure doesn't mean I'm done. Failure means, hey, it was my first attempt at learning it.
Yeah, it's more on-the-job training from kindergarten all the way through.
Yes.
Right.
And right now in our STEM classes, we actually have a great opportunity. We have a student that's a high school student from South River, the STEM high school, who's actually coming and working with our second graders. And the students see him as such a wonderful role model to see, hey, look at this high schooler going to a STEM high school, and he's going on to be an engineer in college. So to see him come down and work with our second graders has just been amazing.
For more information on STEM magnet programs, call the AACPS Advanced Studies and Programs Office at 410-222-5391, extension 1. Resources also are available on the AACPS website. I'm Kathy Schaefer, and this was Parents Corner. Email us at parentscornertv@gmail.com with feedback or dates for upcoming events at your school, and like our Facebook page to stay in the know on show topics. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Jody Rissy, the host for Food for Thought. Later today, I'm joined by Ann Caldwell from the Anne Arundel Medical Center. And how important is nutrition to fuel the body?
I think there isn't anything more important than what we choose to do with our body regarding food and hydration and exercise. That balance drives everything else that we do. And so I'm always encouraging people of all ages to take a good look at what you're doing on a daily basis with regard to your nutritional health and see if you can't kick it up a notch. I stress that folks ought to write down what they eat and drink for a couple of days, take a look at it, and begin to ask themselves on a daily basis, what can I do today that's better for my body than I did yesterday? So if yesterday was a day where I didn't get half of my plate with a fruit or a vegetable, today I'm going to try to kick it up. If yesterday I was hydrating myself with things that were a lot of added sugars and simple colors, I'm really today going to focus on water and good low-fat dairy. If yesterday was a day where I didn't get my 30 to 60 minutes of exercise in, today I'm going to really make some time to kick it up fitness-wise. So, we are what we eat, what we drink, what we do with our bodies. Asking ourselves every day how we can do that a bit better is really what we as dietitians are encouraging people to do.
To watch the full interview, join me later today on Food for Thought.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Porter. Anne Arundel County Public Schools Department of Transportation is raising the level of awareness for the safety of your children as we transport them to and from school. When a school bus stops to load students, as a driver, this is what you will see. At 150 feet, the bus will activate hazard lights. At 100 feet, the bus driver will activate the amber lights. They will start slowing down. At 10 feet before the bus stops, they will turn on the red bus lights. Their stop sign will come out, and students will begin to load. Once all students are on board safely, the bus driver will turn off red lights and move forward. At this time, it is safe for the motorist to resume movement.